Hey guys, it's Tamara Bennett from Southern Adornments Decor. Today we're going to be talking about sharp lines versus blended lines. If you've ever struggled with getting that perfect crisp edge between two colors or felt unsure on how to blend your paint smoothly, you are not alone. Today we're going to be diving into both techniques so that you can feel confident no matter what the project calls for. And I'm super excited because tonight begins our spring workshop for the Highland Cow. So if you have not signed up for that yet, I did put the link in the video description, or you can comment the word welcome and it will give you all the information. You can sign up for just $10 to learn how to paint this cow. Even if you don't have all your supplies ready and you're not prepared to paint with me tonight, come join us, watch, and then paint on the replay. A lot of people end up doing that. We have a kit you can purchase. You can paint whenever the kit arrives, but tonight you'll be able to join, ask questions, and engage live with me. So it all goes down in a private Facebook group at 7 p.m. Central tonight. Christy on YouTube says, will you be on YouTube tonight? No, it will all be at a private link, and that private link will be posted in the Facebook group. So technically, the live won't be happening in Facebook. It'll be happening at this private link. It'll bring you outside of Facebook. So we will be posting that link inside the Facebook group. If you're not in there yet, you need to go request to join the Highland Cow Workshop group and get in there. If you have any questions, feel free to email our customer service and they can help you out. Hello, Sherry. Glad you're excited to be a part of the workshop. Hello, Brenda. I'm excited today because this is a very simple painting lesson for so many people who struggle with this. It's the difference between painting sharp lines versus blended or ombre lines. Raise your hand in the comments if you struggle with either or both. And let me explain first what the difference between sharp lines versus blended lines may look like for those of you who are visual learners like myself. Sharp lines are clean, crisp. They have a separation of color. There is no mixing. Take this floral burst, what's it called? Quilt block pattern that we painted in the Painters Clubhouse a while back. Every piece of this design is clearly outlined. Imagine a quilt. You have your pieces and each piece is painted a different color. So if you end up deciding to join us in the Painters Clubhouse, that project is in the membership library. And so you can see that on that one, you need sharp, crisp lines. Ombre wouldn't look quite right for a quilt block. So there are different projects that call for each of these types of lines. Now, blended lines look a little bit more like this project that we did in the Painters Clubhouse. The background is an ombre of rainbow colors that fills out the inside of this frame shape. And then overlaid on that is the word welcome, y'all. And it makes a really beautiful pop, but it's also a super soft look. So it's blended. We like to call that ombre. The colors just flow into each other, kind of like a sunset. So drop a comment. Let me know if you struggle with sharp lines or blended lines or both. Brenda says she struggles with ombre. Mary says, I couldn't do that. I think she means the quilt block pattern. Mary, I struggled with that in the past. And usually I just have to be diligent about using painter's tape if I want to get those crisp lines. Elizabeth said, painter's tape is my friend. Yes. Donna said, much better than when I started, but it's still a work in progress. Angie struggles with both. Donna said, it's much better than when I started, but it's still a work in progress. Well, we're going to go over some tips today. I have my little handy dandy mixed media pad here. I even used some washi tape. I was proud of myself. I hadn't broken out the washi tape in a hot minute, but I made two sections. So on this side, we're going to do sharp lines and talk about brushes to use for getting sharp lines and a nice smooth line. This side, we're going to fill in with a blend of the same color. So over here, you'll have color 1, 2, 3 in sharp lines. And then over here, you'll have all three colors blended seamlessly. So this will be a really good basic lesson. If you want to practice this, grab your own mixed media pad or get, my husband's like, what's a mixed media pad? I'm like, it's an artist thing. They sell them at Hobby Lobby. We also have them. I call it like a journal, art book. I have those in my shop if you want to grab them. But this one came from Hobby Lobby. You can also just grab a piece of cardstock or practice on cardboard. Cardboard is great to practice on. It feels a lot like painting on wood. Caroline said, where can I find the paint list for tonight? It is in the guides tab of the Facebook group. So head on over there. Missy said, definitely struggle with straight lines. I don't have to be so precise with the blending. Yeah, the blending is a little softer. It's a little more intuitive, like open to interpretation, I guess. And so, especially like with a sunset sky, it doesn't have to be just so. And so you can kind of just work with it and go. So I'm going to share tips for both today. We use a lot of crisp lines and things like lettering. For example, our Highland Cow that we're painting tonight, these will have to be crisp lines, right? We'll have to stay inside the lines. Otherwise, it won't look like letters. Somewhat when you're painting florals, especially if it's a specific floral with a specific like shape to the petal or something like that. The kind of flowers we're painting tonight are open to a little more interpretation. You're just pretty much painting like little dreamy blobs on there. But if you want to create a soft sky or a subtle background, blending is going to give that dreamy look. Dee Dee says, can we go ahead with the background color just so we can get a running start? If you're confident to do so, yes. I tell people to wait if they are hesitant at all. So tonight for the workshop, if you are feeling like confident that you can at least paint the background, feel free to go ahead and do that and get a head start. If you're not, just hold off. I'm going to walk you through all of it. Now, when it comes to painting sharp lines or blended lines, the type of brushes that you are using does make a difference. For sharp lines, you can use flat brushes like this or rounded detail brushes and use very little paint on the brush and a slow, controlled stroke. Now, for blending, you can use a larger brush because you're working with usually a larger surface area. You could use a filbert tip brush. See how the end of that is kind of curved, or a mop brush, which I don't have handy. A mop brush would be very similar to like a makeup brush. You know how it's got lots of bristles on the end and you can just kind of sweep around in the paint. I really need to go to the Dollar Tree and grab some like cheap makeup brushes to use as paint brushes from time to time, because there are certain circumstances where I need a brush like that for certain things. So, like I said, these for sharp lines, these for blended lines. So let's get down to, let's see, I was looking at my notes. Let's get down to our demonstration. I was going to kind of show you guys how to do this. So I've got my mixed media pad here. On this side, we're going to do our sharp lines, and this side, we're going to do our blended lines. So I'm going to start with an ice cube tray for my paints. This ice cube tray is not exactly clean. And I'm using 3 colors: banana cream, which is a really nice soft yellow. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there. And then I'm using fresh mango. It's a soft orange. We're kind of working with softened colors, not super vibrant. I mean, these are kind of vibrant, but they're softer. And then tea berry, which is kind of a reddish pink. So banana cream, fresh mango, tea berry. All sounds like food, doesn't it? You're going to start with a slightly damp brush. I'm going to use my flat tip brush. It is my tried and true favorite. And I'm going to dip in the banana cream. Not getting a ton of paint on my brush, just a little. Pam says she loves using cheap makeup brushes. Yes, I need to grab some. And then I'm just going to paint in this section here. So if I didn't have my washi tape over here, so this is, kind of evidence of like if you were using painter's tape, you can literally just paint right over the edge of that and don't have to worry about it. So easy. Now, once I get up next to this line, I'm going to have to be a little more careful because I didn't put any washi tape there. So if you're worried about it, you could put a piece of painter's tape there, or you could angle. I'm like, how can I angle this toward my body just right? This is how I always do straight lines. You can start with your brush flat if you're more comfortable, or you can turn it up on its tippy toes to get a thinner line. Put it at the very top of the line, just gently set it down, and then you're going to kind of like sit forward in your seat and lean back. The abdominal muscles in your core are going to create a nice smooth line. So I'm placing it right next to the line. And I'm just pulling that brush down beside the line. Okay, once you've created that line, then you can kind of go back beside it and fill in the area that you might have missed. And I did not get that very smooth, but I think part of it was because my paper is not sitting super flat, so it's kind of like rippled and wrinkly. Probably would be better if I did this right here and got all the excess paper out from underneath it so that I'm painting just on the flat tabletop. That's a little better. Okay, any questions? Mary says, my Dollar Tree doesn't have makeup brushes. Really? I assume mine does. I haven't really verified that it does. Okay, now I'm going to rinse out this brush. And I'm going to go for the next color, the fresh mango color. And we're going to put it right beside this. The important thing to note when you are doing crisp lines is to let that first color dry completely before you paint the next one. Otherwise, you know, your next color might touch that one and blend it just a little bit or muddy it up, and you don't want that. It'll be much easier to get a crisp line if you're working with dry paint right next to it. Elizabeth said, stupid question, but what in the world is the washi tape for? I really don't know what its original intention was for. I assume it was just for like mixed media and adding whimsical little things to scrapbooks, paper, card making, crafts. I don't know. Today I'm using it to kind of create like little boxes to paint in. And then when we're done, I'll peel them up and it'll be a nice like crisp little square or rectangle left behind. Missy said, I'm really working on pulling my brush back. I'm so bad to want to use my wrist. I know you want to do like this, right? But you have much less control with this. So if you can use your abdominal muscles and just lean back, it'll come out so much smoother. Okay, we can put a piece of painter's tape here or washi tape if we want to. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I feel like you would learn more by watching me. So I'm just going to dip my brush in the fresh mango and we're just going to go in right beside it. And sometimes it can help if you paint over the line a little bit with the yellow, which I did by accident, because that allows you to kind of like overlap the colors without having to worry about getting those colors to meet up with one another perfectly. So just line those up. Okay, good. And then I'm going to go down the other line on the other side. And this time I'm keeping my brush flat. It doesn't matter. Whichever way is you're more comfortable with. You can lay it flat if you feel like you'll have more control that way. And then just fill in the middle. It's going to be kind of cool to see these side by side with our crisp lines and our blended lines. It'll be a really nice like contrast. Washi tape is a decorative multi-purpose masking tape primarily used for crafts, journaling, scrapbooking, home decor. It's known for its colorful patterns, ease of use, ability to adhere to various stuff. Yeah, I used washi tape instead of painter's tape because washi tape isn't as sticky. And I wasn't sure how painter's tape would react with this paper. I was afraid it might like be hard to peel off. Mary says, is it important to wet your brush often? I don't know if I would say often, but every time I go to dip in a new color, I always have a fresh, like clean brush that is damp. It's not dripping. There is nothing dripping off of it. Matter of fact, when I swipe like this on my hand, I can feel a slight bit of moisture, but my hand's not wet. And so I kind of like take it with my fingertip and smooth the bristles out nice and flat after each time. Michael's late, but he's here, y'all. Michael, my husband.
I was working on the monogram with
okay.
Noodle board.
Well, we are showing how to do sharp and blended lines. So on this side, we're doing 3 colors that are like a sharp color. And then over here, we're going to do the same 3 colors with no lines and blend them in between.
How do you separate them?
I drew a pencil line.
Okay.
And then I just painted them in with a paintbrush. And I was telling them the important thing is to make sure each color is dry before you move on to the next. Thank you all on TikTok who joined me. Any other questions before we move along? Okay, going in with the next color, the tea berry. I'm going to go right up next to that line. If you struggle with the paint ridge, dab a little off before you go next to that line. That way, all the paint on your brush isn't gathering next to the line. If you feel like you start to run out of paint, dip again, dab off. Start on top of the area you just went on top of and just repeat. Pull over it once more. It's okay to go over it again and again if you need to. Okay, we're just going to fill that in. This tea berry color is so pretty. Okay, was the dry?
Have you already answered what washi tape is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is washi tape?
Read the comment. He said, what is washi tape? I said, well, read the comment. Mm-hmm. I think she went to Google and copy and pasted that, but it was helpful. Okay, for the next one.
Okay.
What?
I know what washi tape is.
You learned something new today, didn't you? Okay, so for the blending or the ombre side, no matter which you call it, we're going to switch brushes. I'm going to go with a filbert tip brush. And the reason for switching to the filbert tip brush is because it's going to allow us to like blend and feather those colors together just a bit more without having like a sharp line anywhere in it, which if I was using a filbert tip brush, I can usually feather with a filbert tip brush. It's just a little more challenging. Definitely wouldn't use a round tip brush for this. So filbert or mop brush would be best. The key to doing a blended technique is to work while the paint is still wet. So it's called a wet on wet technique. You're going to use light pressure. You could do a circular motion if you're going for like clouds in a sky. I'm going to go for more like a little bit of a sunset sort of vibe, only we're going to have it up and down instead of sideways. That way you can see the vertical lines. And you're going to add just a touch of water, or you can use a blending medium. It's like a gel that you mix with your paint that kind of keeps the paint wet longer. I prefer not to use that. I prefer to just use like a spritzer bottle or to keep a little paint on my brush to keep the paint wet.
Wow.
Why?
Why don't you like
it's just, it's a personal preference. I don't know. The gel medium stays wet longer than water, which is really weird if you say that out loud. Yeah, the gel medium stays wet longer than water does. Like it doesn't evaporate as quickly. And I think I'm just more used to how quickly the paint dries with water. And so that feels more natural for me to work with.
Does it brush out? Because like, I don't like gel stain.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like gel stain, I think, because it's harder to work with. It's just, I don't know. It's a little bit.
It's because you haven't worked with it much.
Maybe,
right? You know, so you're used to how quickly stain soaks in and dries, and it's similar to me with paint.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Mary says, so it's like slow dry. Yeah, exactly. So for this one, I am going to dip my filbert tip brush in some water before I even start, and I'm going to dab it off on a paper towel, smooth those bristles out. I always do this, and I think it's because like, I know if I'm getting a lot of water droplets out the end of that brush, I didn't dab it off enough, and I don't want to water my paint down necessarily. And so by doing that, it kind of helps me test to see how much water's on that brush. One question real quick. Debbie says, will the templates for the workshop be available in the shop as well? No, not for at least a year. We like to keep them exclusive to our workshops and our Painters Clubhouse members for at least a year.
Elizabeth agrees with me. Gel stains are horrible to work with.
Okay. Let's start with our banana cream color, and we're going to have to work fast on this side. So I'm not going to take any questions until I get to the end. That way my paint stays wet while we work. So I'm just going to kind of in my mind or like on the paper, just kind of create a little section that's going to be yellow. I might even use a little more paint on this side just so that the paint stays a little wetter.
Nancy said she was doing this last night, trying to decide what colors to use on with a new background.
I kind of rinsed out my brush, but not perfectly. I'm quickly picking up the orange, and I'm going to put it down here. I'm going to create sort of a line in my mind of where I want the orange to end. And while the orange and yellow are still wet, I'm doing a quick, feathery back and forth motion. So I'm going from orange to yellow, back to orange. If you feel like you're losing a little of your yellow, pick up a little more yellow and bring it back in. You know, I want to soften that up right there. It got a little too orange right there, so I picked up a little more. And I'm just kind of feathering it back and forth while it's wet. If it's drying too quickly, take a little spritzer bottle and give it just the teeniest of spritzes, especially if you're working on paper. You don't want to water your paper down. If you feel like you've got too much orange in your brush, quickly dab it off and come back with just a damp brush, just water on your brush this time. And it's very little water. And you can keep like picking it up and putting your orange over here on your paper towel. So this is just damp water picking up. I didn't want that much orange on this side. And I'm just softening it with a damp brush.
That's cool.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to rinse my brush out now. And this orange on this side is still wet, but I want to keep it even more wet. So I might have to add a little more orange on this side to work with. So I'm just going to put that back in there. And actually, I'm not even... no. Rinse out your brush in between colors if you're trying to get a nice ombre. And then start from this side and work your way back toward the orange. So that way you have kind of like a good color over here, but then in the middle you've got the blend. So while it's still wet, we're blending. My orange is drying so fast. I'm going to pick a little orange up. So now I have both colors on my brush. And I'm just doing this really soft back and forth motion. I'm going to rinse that tea berry off my brush because it's starting to get too much into the orange of what I wanted. So now I'm coming back with just a damp brush and my paper towel. I can pick a little up and put it on my paper towel. So pretty. This is really a beautiful sunset sky. Let me put a little more orange over here in the tea berry. Picking up both colors here. Are you hypnotized?
I'm watching.
He's leaning in and just watching so intently. Okay, now we're going to dry it and we'll peel the washi tape off. Questions?
So you didn't.
I know this is running.
You wasn't actually even spraying the paper directly. You were just spraying over the top of it.
Yeah, just gently, as best as like fine and tiny amount as I could, because it's paper. I don't want the paper to get real wavy with the water.
But if it was, say, MDF or something, would you spray it directly?
Yeah, if it was MDF, I would spray it directly and might even be a little more generous with the amount of water that I was working on. Okay, now that it's dry, let's peel our washi tape up. This is so satisfying to me when I watch videos and people peel the tape up after they're done painting something. Another great way to get sharp, crisp lines. Use painter's tape or washi tape to create those lines. So as the outside of these boxes, it shows the easy way to do that by using tape because I didn't have to be careful along the tape. Nancy said, I was doing this last night trying to decide what colors to use with a new background. Well, what color did you settle on, Nancy? I posted a picture in the workshop group of the different like cow backgrounds of colors that you could choose. And I'm going to be teaching it with the yellow background. But after seeing this graphic, I think a lot of people may be switching to like purple or green or whatever. And that may depend on the color of your front door too. So if you have a different color front door, you might want to change up the color of your background. Michael's picking his favorite color.
I kind of like the green.
You like the green?
Yeah, just because it goes with the best with the blue bandana.
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth says all 8. Are you challenging yourself to paint all 8 backgrounds? That would be awesome. Barb's already got her background painted yellow. Wonderful. I'm excited to paint with you guys tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you have not signed up for the Highland Cow Workshop yet, comment workshop. It'll send a message to your inbox and you can sign up there. Linda's going to use pistachio mint. Somebody asked what color I would recommend for the green, and I said sage mint. I don't think I have pistachio mint, but that would be a brighter green. That would be really pretty. Marina says yellow. Angie says she did pink. Oh, I'm so excited to see all of these and how they turn out. It's going to be so good. Also, if you didn't get a notice letting you know I was getting ready to go live and you don't want to miss me next time I go live, comment alert, and it will send a message to your inbox each time I get ready to go live on here. Anna's going to do yellow. Do y'all have any questions about the workshop tonight before we wrap up this live? Paula's going to do yellow. It's going to be great. We're going to have fun. Oh, that won't work on TikTok. Somebody commented alert over there. It won't work on TikTok. It only works on Facebook. I do see a question on TikTok that says, are the hangers made out of plywood? What kind of wood? It's MDF. Medium density fiberboard. And so we paint them and then we give them a really good coat of sealer before we put them outdoors.
Kathy asked, what blue would you use?
What blue? Blue Haven would be a really good one. Gingham blue would be good. Any kind of like light, soft blue, like this one. Oh, that's Blue Haven right there. It's almost the color of my shirt. This is Gingham blue, the other one that I mentioned. It's a little darker. You could do a blend of like, if you have a darker blue like that, blend with a little white to kind of like soften it up.
Debbie wanted to know, did you put a white base coat on first?
I did not. And I don't plan to tonight. No.
And then Mary said, could you do this blended?
The background to Lola? Absolutely. If you want to. Yeah, you could blend a couple colors together and create like a sunset behind Lola.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Or you could do like a blends of blues and whites to kind of make it look like a sky. I didn't demonstrate today how to do clouds and stuff like that, but I didn't have like the right kind of brush. I need a mop brush and I don't have one around here. I don't do that very often. But that would be a fun way to do it too. Missy said, I can't find Blue Haven. What should I substitute? Like I said, gingham blue, baby blue is pretty close. Let's see. This is Blue Haven right here. So this is baby blue. Spa blue is nice. It's got a touch of a teal in it.
What about that one
This
right
is
there?
Provence Sky. It's a little darker. And gingham blue is a little darker as well. So if you're going to use one of these two colors and you want it to be lighter, just mix a little white with them. Any of these would really work. Okay. So let's wrap up by talking about some common mistakes to avoid when you're doing crisp lines or blended lines. Trying to blend on dry paint is going to give you splotchy, like patchy results, which if that's what you're going for, that's great. But that's not usually what you're going for with ombre. You usually want it to look smooth and seamless. So if you're trying to blend on top of a dry paint, that's why you're having that result. So just like with my orange here, I went back and picked up a little more orange to add more wet orange to it. That way my tea berry could blend into the orange. You could also be using too much water, like maybe it's dripping off the end of your brush, or you've spritzed too much on the project and you're getting like muddy results, muddy colors. They're just not coming out good. Or it just feels chaotic. Maybe it's blending too far over or something like that. The best thing to do in that case is to get your paper towel out, dab it off as best you can, get all the water off your brush that you can, and then go back in with your brush that doesn't have much water on it and start picking up a lot of that water that's on your project and transferring it to your paper towel like we were showing earlier. And then you dry it and you can start again if you need to start over. Another problem is rushing the drying time between the sharp color transitions. I don't really ever have that problem, but I think it could be because I lay my paint down pretty thin. If we were working with thicker paint or something like that, that had the problem of like cracking or something, once it dries, that might be a problem, but I don't struggle with that very much. Wait, Elizabeth says, I love winter blue. I don't know if I have winter blue, but that probably would be a really good one too. So if you loved today's lesson, I would love if you hit that like button or drop us a comment and let me know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and hit that subscribe button. And I hope you decide to join us tonight for our Highland Cow Spring Workshop. I'm going to walk you through this entire design step by step. So don't let this intimidate you. You can paint like this, and I'm going to show you exactly how. And you're going to be doing it alongside a lot of other people who are beginners, even some of our Painters Clubhouse members who've done multiple workshops with us. And so you'll have a lot of support along the way. So if you don't feel confident in yourself, I have confidence in you, so borrow a little bit of my confidence, and we can do this together. It starts at 7 p.m. Central tonight. Any questions before we wrap up? Everybody's excited? You loved this process? I'm so glad y'all loved this. I was afraid that this lesson might feel a little too like basic for y'all, but sometimes this is what you need. It's just a quick little basic lesson that's going to help you overcome something you've been struggling with. So I really hope it was helpful for some of you all. Thank y'all for saying that.
I like shading.
You loved it?
Yeah.
You learned something?
Yeah.
You going to go finish that sunflower that you started back in 2022 with Miss Pam?
I'm pacing myself.
He's pacing himself. He's got 2 or 3 unfinished projects he hasn't completed.
Yeah. They're on my to-do list. What color did you use for the purple background on Lola?
I didn't actually paint Lola. I did that on my Procreate app. But if I was going to, ironically, the color I would recommend is Purple Cow. It's called Purple Cow. That's the one that I would probably choose. If you want a more pinkish purple that's a little lighter, Gentle Heather is a really pretty option. So here's the 2 side by side for comparison. So it just kind of depends on the color you're going for.
Lori asked, if you change background to green, do you need to change other colors?
That is something to consider. And I think you would need to base that on the green that you're using and what it looks like with the other colors. If the green you're using is bold, it might make that bandana not show up well. So you might switch the bandana to a pink color or yellow even. You could just use the yellow background for the bandana. Somebody mentioned doing the background in teal. And I said, okay, then I would do the bandana in yellow, kind of just flip flop it, right? If you're doing a pink background, maybe you don't do pink flowers down here. Maybe you do yellow flowers down here. So whatever you're swapping that background color for, feel free to swap it out for another, like for whatever that color was already in the project.
Purple Cow. You could have some Purple Cow mixed in there.
That's what I said. It's kind of ironic. The name of the paint's called Purple Cow. Thank you guys for joining me today. Don't forget to share this with somebody who loves to paint. I'll see you guys next time.